and discussions week mornings.
Coming up in the news at 6 for this morning.
Entertainment in the afternoons, then news again in the evenings.
Nationwide news at this hour, fired.
Also tune into the entertainment and sports shows in the nights and on the weekends.
It is Boy Things After Dark right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
Everything is news, from current affairs and entertainment to sports, business and other categories.
Nationwide 90 FM. This is Beanie Man. Give it to them. Zaga, Zen.
From every whisper to every commotion.
That's rubbish. The KSAMC cannot investigate itself.
Every news story unfolds here first at Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. Every sound is a story, and every story we share is news.
What's everyone talking about? It's Front Page in This Morning. Get the issue of the day this and every weekday morning at 7:20 a.m. on Front Page. This Morning. Morning radio the right way. Front Page is brought to you by ABC Electrical for a better choice in the electrical business.
Get Dad ready for every job with all the tools he needs this Father's Day. The time by Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Label Crafts Jamaica Limited offers exceptional finishes that will make your product extraordinary at an affordable cost. The temperature by Label Crafts Jamaica Limited, the #1 choice for label printing, is...
It's 28 degrees Celsius in Kingston and 32 in Montego Bay.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Roby Ann Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, government mobilizes to provide relief supplies to families displaced by demolition exercise in Cooper's Pen, Trelawney.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security's immediate concern is the welfare of the families affected in Cooper's.
The PNP's Isaac Buchanan urges Jamaicans to try to scam the government as he condemns the demolition of homes in Cooper's Pen.
Children's advocate probing injury of 1-year-old child in state care.
Lawmakers continue to debate whether children found in possession of firearms should automatically benefit from diversion.
Senator Christian Tavares Finson labels opposition leader Mark Golding's CCJ as Jamaica's final appellate court as disingenuous.
In news from the rest of the world, 3 guns reported missing from police station in Port of Spain, Trinidad.
WHO says Congo's Ebola outbreak is on track to surpass the deadliest one in history.
In sports, Jamaica suffers second defeat in CWI Rising Star Women's Under-19 tournament.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, Nationwide News understands residents of Cooper's Pen in Trelawney who were impacted by a demolition exercise on Tuesday were on the land illegally. What does the law say about adverse land possession? Attorneys Bert Samuels and Sophia Bryan will tell us.
In the nation's business at 6:25, lawmakers, part of the Joint Select Committee reviewing the Child Diversion Act, are debating whether children found in possession of firearms should automatically benefit from diversion.
If we leave it to the discretion, I'm afraid that there will be children who won't be able to benefit.
A judge listening to the circumstances is in the best position to exercise a discretion.
Policy research and advocacy specialist at Jamaicans for Justice, Jade Williams, and attorney Matthew Hyatt will join us.
At 7, it's the comments section. This evening they're asking, how will you cope with the incoming water prohibition orders? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90 FM.
And at 8, it's Boya Things After Dark with Kareem Boya Things Weathers.
All these and more as we take you home on air, Nationwide 90 FM, this Wednesday afternoon. It's Wednesday, August 12, 2026.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The government has mobilized humanitarian and social support to 40 families who were displaced following a demolition exercise in Cooper's Pen, Trelawney on Tuesday. On Wednesday, teams from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security visited the affected residents, providing relief supplies. Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says social workers are assessing the immediate needs of the families.
The Ministry of Labor and Social Security's immediate concern is the welfare of the families affected in Cooper's Pen, particularly the children, the seniors, any persons with disabilities that are there, and other persons that may be considered vulnerable. Our social workers have been on the ground, assessing the needs of the residents and providing immediate assistance, supporting other government agencies as well, and we will continue working with our partners to ensure that the affected families receive the support available through the Ministry's social protection programs.
In a video obtained by Nationwide News, a tractor was seen demolishing the structures. Nationwide News understands the impacted occupants were on the land illegally. The residents lament that they received no prior notice of any plans to destroy their homes. The ministry was joined in their visit on Wednesday by the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, and other agencies. Some of the supplies given include food, bottled water, toiletries, buckets, temporary shelter supplies, beds, tents, and lighting equipment. The CPFSA says its teams remain on location to assess whether help is needed for children affected by the demolition. Minister Charles Jr. says his ministry's team will return on Friday to provide further assistance.
As part of our continued response, the ministry will return to Cooper's Pen on Friday, August 14th. When we return, we will be distributing food and other essential supplies to affected families, and we want to ensure that families have immediate support going into the weekend. Beyond Friday's distribution now, our team will continue the assessments and continue to partner with other government agencies to determine what additional assistance can be provided and needs to be provided to the families.
Pernell Charles Jr., Labor and Social Security Minister. The local government ministry is expected to provide drop-in shelters for the residents.
Meanwhile, Government Senator Abka Fitzhenley says the multi-agency response to the demolition of houses in Cooper's Pen is a directive by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness.
First of all, it must be said that the government of Jamaica, and the prompting of no one external, but the directive of Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has mobilized pertinent agencies and departments under the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, and indeed ODPEM has been activated to assist as best as possible Jamaicans in Trelawney who were affected by the demolition exercise. We recognize the nature of the circumstances they face, and the agencies have been directed to assist as best as possible.
Senator Fitzhenley is also condemning persons who are spreading false narratives about the demolition of the houses.
Secondly, it's unfortunate that this dispute involving the private owners of lands and people who occupy the lands escalated into a demolition exercise. It's very unfortunate. However, it must be noted that propaganda being spread on social media by PNP operatives seeking to link the government of Jamaica to the exercise is false, untrue, unadulterated lies, and they must be called out for what they are.
Abka Fitzhenley, Government Senator.
And a member of Parliament for North Trelawney, Tova Hamilton, is also dispelling rumors that the JLP government is behind the demolition exercise.
What happened yesterday here in Cooper's Pen was not a government of Jamaica operation. It was private sector led, and at no time before the operation began was I, as Member of Parliament, informed that an eviction or demolition exercise was going to take place. I found out when the people were already being bulldozed. I started receiving phone calls as early as 6 a.m. when residents started appealing to me for assistance. By that time, homes were already being demolished and families were already displaced. So I want to dispel the misinformation suggesting that the government of Jamaica planned this operation or that I somehow knew it was coming and stood by.
While condemning squatting, MP Hamilton also notes that the approach by the private developers was unacceptable.
I do not condone informal occupation of land. I have never done so because I believe communities must be developed in an orderly and lawful manner. Land ownership matters, property rights matter, and the rule of law matters. But here is where I draw the line. The rule of law and basic humanity are not enemies. You can respect property rights and still respect people. You can recover possession of land without stripping another human being of dignity. A 3-day-old baby should never have been placed in a bath pan and put outside while her mother, who had just undergone a cesarean section, was forced out of her home. A student should not have to search for a laptop that was reportedly taken while her home was being invaded, and people should not have to watch their possession being destroyed when they are already experiencing the trauma of losing the place they called home.
Tova Hamilton, Member of Parliament for North Trelawney.
Opposition spokesperson on human rights Isaac Buchanan has seemingly called for Jamaicans to attempt to scam the state as he condemns the demolition of 20 homes in Cooper's Pen, Trelawney. The homes, it's understood, were constructed illegally on the land. He delivered that message on the social media platform TikTok. Siobhan Campbell reports.
Nationwide News understands that the land dispute that resulted in the homes of more than 30 families being demolished in Cooper's Pen, North Trelawney on Tuesday began 19 years ago in 2007. Opposition spokesperson on human rights and MP for East Portland, Isaac Buchanan, in an official release from the PNP, condemned the action.
I am deeply disturbed by the recent demolition of structures occupied by Jamaican families, first in St. Thomas and now in Cooper's Pen, Trelawney. These incidents, reportedly carried out during the dusk and dawn hours, have left families homeless while their personal belongings and life possessions destroyed in the process. What is particularly troubling to me is the reported role of the police during the Cooper's Pen operation. The reported detention of the men while women and children stood by helplessly as their homes and possessions were destroyed is deeply disturbing. The image and circumstances are painfully reminiscent of the powerlessness and separation experienced by enslaved people under slavery.
According to Buchanan, residents received no notice and had no opportunity to save their belongings before their homes and in many cases their life possessions were destroyed. He wants the government to urgently provide emergency housing and welfare support for all affected families, counseling services, particularly for children, and assistance to replace destroyed belongings. However, the East Portland MP took a different track on social media in what he called a dialectic. In that comment, Buchanan sought to guarantee the residents who were on the land illegally that the Holness administration would provide them new homes.
So to the people of Trelawney who wake up and then bulldoze your house, I feel your pain. God is going to do something magical for all of them. I see the Prime Minister, I'm have to lift up off of some house and him have to give you. And when him put him plaque on the house, then when him have to give you back, rip it off when they're done, because if them not give you back house, Tova can't win down there. Right now, anywhere should they beer twep. Prime Minister have to go keep cabinet meeting and know so she have to give you back in the house. And we now ease up off of them neck, because government are creatures of the Constitution. Are the human rights run this, the humans run this. Wanna bet me, if you think I lie, me I tell.
The MP, who is no stranger to verbal controversy, went further. He called on Jamaicans not involved in the demolition to, quote, chop a line pon them. Chop the line or chop a line is a Jamaican slang term that specifically means to run a scam or commit fraud.
So all someone who never up there, take all 1 foot on the bed, broke it off and carry it up there and say, see where left ya? Yeah, choppy line pon them, cause anybody where in a the place there where them bulldoze, you have to get back a house out of government. And it now gonna be no trailer. Bet say you get land. I bet on that.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
In other news now, the Office of the Children's Advocate has begun an investigation into the circumstances surrounding injuries reportedly sustained by a 1-year-old boy while in state care at the Glen Hope Place of Safety. Children's Advocate Diane Gordon Harrison says her office first became aware of the incident through a media report published on August 11. She says at that point the OCA had not received an official report on the matter. Gordon Harrison says subsequent checks confirmed that the Child Protection and Family Services Agency CPFSA formally notified the office by email at 10 minutes past 3 on the afternoon of August 11. The Children's Advocate says the circumstances surrounding the child's injuries are deeply concerning and require careful and thorough investigation. She says the OCA is committed to establishing the facts and not to determine whether there were any breaches of the child's rights, and to determine whether there were any breaches of the child's rights or failures in the systems responsible for his care and protection. Gordon Harrison says every child placed in state care is entitled to a safe and protective environment.
The Office of the Children's Advocate takes the report quite seriously because, of course, as you know, there is a high duty of care that the state owes to children whom are placed into its custody for their care and protection. The child's age as well is of particular significance, he being only 1 year old, and so that tends to compound the issue from our perspective. But we want to assure all interested parties that the Office of the Children's Advocate is doing its due diligence and is doing a thorough investigation into the circumstances.
Diane Gordon Harrison, Children's Advocate. You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
It's IQ Optical's sizzling summer sale. For this month only, get 50% off lenses when you purchase a frame. Kids get free lenses with a purchase of a frame. Make the intelligent choice with IQ Optical. Conditions apply. The time by IQ Optical is
5:15.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rent-A-Kill Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rent-A-Kill Initial is...
It's 28 degrees Celsius in Kingston and 32 in Montego Bay.
Bring the heat, feel the vibes. Walkers what brings any meal to life. Great food, great time, side by side. Grill any food type, anywhere you like. Jerk it, sauce it, flavor in every bite. Real Jamaican taste, yeah man, ignite. Bring the heat, feel the vibes. Make moments feel alright. Bring the heat, feel the vibes. Walkers what brings any meal to life. Cook up real flavor and vibes in the kitchen, grill or barbecue. With Walkers with seasonings.
Continuing the news, lawmakers continue to debate whether children found in possession of firearms should automatically benefit from diversion. The issue dominated discussions at Wednesday's sitting of a joint select committee reviewing the Child Diversion Act. The act emphasizes rehabilitation over punishment, but the inclusion of high-risk gun offenses in the provisions remains a highly debated issue among stakeholders. Shalois Michael reports.
Committee member Isat Buchanan painted a harsh reality of some children being forced to carry firearms by dons in their communities. It's why he says automatic diversion is necessary for rehabilitation.
We are well aware that there are adults who are using children, even children below the age of criminal responsibility, to lock firearms. Let's call it that.
And to carry.
And to carry. So if we are going to be in the business of being able to pull these children and divert them from this deviant behavior, possession simpliciter has to be a space that we can divert them and put them in programs. If we leave it to the discretion under Section 37 in that contemplation, I'm afraid that there will be children who won't be able to benefit.
His views were supported by Marissa Dalrymple Philibert.
In certain societies in this country, when the Don says, you hold this, a young child sometimes fears for his own life if he doesn't hold it. What he says is true. With the state of things now, if it is not included and it goes to the court, we still practice in the courts. They are not going to get the leniency at all.
But fellow committee member Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, who's also state minister in the Ministry of National Security, disagrees. Doubling down on the ministry's stance, she argues that gun possession should not be treated lightly regardless of the circumstance.
If it is that they ask them to lock the guns, there'll be no punishment for them. It'll be a child diversion matter, and that is it. But you have rural communities where youngsters are also being caught with guns, and they don't necessarily have good intention having those guns. So, I mean, what is the message that we would send to say, if it is that you're caught with the possession of an illegal weapon, that you are now just going to be sent to child diversion?
Similar views were shared by Senators Shireen Golding Campbell and Donna Scott Motley, as well as a legal officer of the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, Lloydette Llewellyn. Committee Chair and Justice Minister Delroy Chuck believes the offense should instead be dealt with under Section 37 of the Act, giving such discretion to a judge.
We have too many guns in this country. We cannot now in this parliament say that because a child is found with a gun, we send that child immediately to child diversion. The circumstances must be looked at carefully, and that is where a judge listening to the circumstances is in the best position to exercise a discretion whether or not that child should be sent to child diversion. And therefore, I would say the consensus as I see it is that it should not go in the first schedule.
Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Months after a major security breach at the San Fernando Municipal Police Station, 3 guns belonging to the Port of Spain City Police have been reported missing. Police said the 3 weapons were handed over to officers at the Central Police Station on Monday for safekeeping. However, when officers returned to the station on Tuesday to retrieve the firearms, 3 of the weapons could not be located. Investigators say they're not ruling out the possibility that the guns were handed to private security by mistake. It comes 4 months after a police officer was killed at another station and 123 firearms stolen.
The ongoing Ebola outbreak in Congo is on track to surpass the deadliest one in history, which killed over 11,000 people. That's the word from the World Health Organization, the WHO. On Wednesday, the WHO says at its current pace, the outbreak is moving to eclipse the West African Ebola outbreak of 2014 to 2016. The outbreak in eastern Congo, considered the fastest growing in history, has killed over 2,000 people out of more than 4,000 cases. It was declared on May 15, but health authorities say the outbreak may have started months earlier.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, government mobilizes to provide relief supplies to families displaced by demolition exercise in Cooper's Pen, Trelawney.
But the PNP's Isaac Buchanan urges Jamaicans to try to scam the government as he condemns the demolition of homes in Cooper's Pen.
Children's advocate probing injury of 1-year-old child in state care. I'm Robeanne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and join the Nationwide Family Club at patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. News next, the headlines at 6.
Get ready for the Kingston Bookshop Grand Back to School Fair, powered by Nationwide 90 FM. Join us Saturday, August 15 from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at 31 East Tradeway, Portmore. Enjoy free admission, free back to school medicals for students, exciting special discounts, free rides, vendor booths, special performances, and the chance to win in-store prizes and surprises. Don't miss this fun-filled day for the entire family. Prepare for the new school year with Kingston Bookshop. For more information, visit Kingston Bookshop on Facebook and Instagram. See you there!
Hey, turn up to 25. Turn up to 25. Could I drive out fresh? Vacation, all inclusive flex, yeah. Heart touch a milli cash, yes. Smart TV, PS5, and home upgrade.
Turn up your winnings this summer with Digicel. Sign up or switch to postpaid or Digicel Plus. Buy a SIM, top up with 5 bills or more. Buy a 7-day plan or higher, a smartphone deal, or just pay your bill. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Promotion period June 24 to September 5, 2026. Visit DigicelJamaica.com for terms and conditions.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Good evening with your sports report. I'm Alex Webby. We both things off with some cricket as Jamaica suffered their second defeat at the Cricket West Indies Rising Star Under-19 Women's T20 Tournament, going down by 6 runs to Barbados at the Liberta Sports Complex on Wednesday. Zania Bruce top scored with 30 as Barbados made 102 for 8 off their 20 overs. Javja Brown claimed 3 for 10 and Brianna Plummer 2 for 20. Jamaica replied with 96 for 9 off the batters went via the run-out route. Jamaica will next be in action on Friday against the Windward Islands at Coolidge. Meanwhile, Trinidad and Tobago made it a perfect 4 from 4 following their crushing 8-wicket win over the Leeward Islands. Samara Ramnath 4 for 3 and Brianna Hatcharam 3 for 15 combined to blow out the Leewards for 50 in 16 overs. The Trinis then reached to 52 for 2 in 6 overs. Rovman Powell, captain of Jamaica Kingsmen, stated that the group has collectively identified areas needed improvement in the ongoing Caribbean Premier League. Kingsmen are winless after their opening 2 games following defeats in Antigua and Barbuda Falcons and Barbados Tridents. According to Powell, the team has been unfortunate so far.
If we keep on losing wickets in clusters, the statistics say if we keep losing wickets in clusters, majority of the times you will come with improvement. It's just for us to give that extra 5 or 10%. That is what it comes down to. And it's for us as a group to stay together. It's 2 tight games, 2 games that could have gone either. We could have been 2 games up now, But having said that, I think it left a good taste in the fans' mouth. So I'm sure they will come out and support us for the rest of the games.
Rovman Powell. Jamaica Kingsmen will be in action again on Thursday when they clash with last year's beaten finalists Guyana Amazon Warriors at 7 p.m. at Sabina Park. And now to some football. Jamaica has moved a step closer to hosting the 2031 FIFA Senior Women's World Cup after the Ministry of Sports and the Jamaica Football Federation JFF signed a guarantee agreement for the tournament. Jamaica will co-host the World Cup alongside the United States, Costa Rica and Mexico, with the National Stadium expected to host between 3 and 5 group stage matches as well as 1 round of 32 fixture. Minister of Sports Oliver Grains says the agreement gives Jamaica bragging rights as the first Caribbean country to host Women's World Cup matches. The guarantees cover key areas including visa and immigration, safety and security, check-in procedures, indemnification, and other legal requirements.
These include the establishment of the necessary mechanisms to facilitate guarantees, bonds, declarations, and the requisite legal framework to ensure compliance with the hosting agreement.
Grains says hosting the tournament will also provide significant economic benefits, with international visitors expected to boost spending on food, transportation, and tours.
The indirect economic impact means visitors from all over the world, local spending that even the peanut man will earn something, media and TV exposure that we can't pay for, job creation because there will be opportunities for employment, and of course, an estimated economic injection of amounts that I will not mention at this time.
She says global television exposure for Kingston will also provide priceless value for Jamaica's tourism brand while strengthening the country's reputation as a sporting destination in the region. Now, Paris Saint-Germain won the UEFA Super Cup for a second straight year by beating Aston Villa 2-1 on Wednesday, thanks to Desiree Doui's second-half goal in the annual curtain raiser to the European football season. Doui's 61st minute strike after running onto Ousmane Dembele's pass was initially ruled out for offside, only for the goal to be awarded following a video review.
Looks offside to me. The flag will stay down for now against Doué. And Doué puts it in. And now the flag does go up. And have to say from here, it looked a clear offside. It's elongated check at the moment, which will cause a bit of concern. Now the technology lets us know that it's going to be overturned. I think it is a goal. And Paris are back in front. Desiree Doué has done the job for the European champions.
No Kvaratskhelia, powerfully struck opener in the 20th, was cancelled out by a volley from Brian Maggio, a 17-year-old striker making his competitive debut for Villa days after getting approval to play following a dispute with FIFA over his registration.
They're coming again though. Doué, Kvaratskhelia! It's a cracker from Kvaratskhelia once again. Maggio again peeling away and scoring this time. Sensational from the 17-year-old.
I'm Alric Swiby, and that's your sports.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:29.
From the vibrant waterfront setting of Ocho Rios Bay Beach to the breathtaking seascape of Laughing Waters, discover exceptional venues for your special events. The temperature by the Urban Development Corporation is
28 degrees Celsius in City Kingston and 32 in Montego Bay.
The Urban Development Corporation invites you to enjoy your Jamaica at the first staging of Bonfire Saturdays this Saturday, August 15. It's Island Vibes at Ocho Rios Bay Beach from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. Musical juggling by DJ Lollipop alongside DJ Speckle. Admission $1,000 pre-sold, $1,200 at the gate. Get your tickets today at UDC's head office downtown Kingston, Ocho Rios Bay Beach in St. Anne, or on Instagram at UDC Jamaica. Must be 18 years or older to drink. ID required. Drink responsibly. It's Bonfire Saturdays, August 15. Ocho Rios Bay Beach. Be there.
Stop buying expensive toner cartridges. Global Ink is now selling new factory direct generic toners. Remove factory seals, install and print. Engineered to work first time, every time. Certified for use in HB and Brother printers. Worry-free, affordable printing for your peace of mind. Money saved is money earned. We deliver island-wide. 754-7444. Never run out of toner again. Global Ink. 754-7444.
Big news, Jamaica! The JTA Credit Union Open House Day is taking over the city. We're bringing you the unbeatable summer loan deals, custom vehicle displays, and home financing upgrades you've been waiting for. So pull up to 97A Church Street, Kingston on Thursday, August 13 from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And guess what? Nationwide 90 FM alongside the Queen of Afternoon Radio herself, Mrs. Kitty, will be broadcasting live on location. Can't make it down to Church Street? Stay locked on our YouTube channel at NNN Radio Live and keep your radio locked on Nationwide 90 FM because we have you fully covered. So join us on Nationwide 90 FM as we broadcast live from 97A Church Street, Kingston on Thursday, August 13 from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Don't dream it, live it. See you there.
It's hard-hitting. It's riveting. It's the much-talked-about cover story during Nationwide at 5. Here Cliff Hughes get to the heart of the story of the day. Cover Story aired 5:30 weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Nationwide at 5. Talk radio at its best. Cover Story.
Cover Story is brought to you by JTA Credit Union, serving our members, impacting lives positively.
Multilink, roll with control. Use Multilink, safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
He never shies away from taboo topics. Boy Things After Dark.
The most riveting discussions.
Boy Things After Dark.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings this and every Wednesday from 8 to 11 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
You can't miss.
What's buzzing?
Celebrity outfits.
Is that a hit or a miss?
Bust the odds.
Jamaica's Got Talent.
Wait, war man.
Hot takes.
Talk up the takes.
Actual factual. Life is short. Boyatings After Dark.
Come get your mind blown.
And your curiosity explored.
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. Welcome. It's time for Nationwide at 5. This is the cover story, and I'm your host, Siobhan Campbell. I hope the wet weather treats all of you well today. It's ironic that we get this nice little rain shower on just a few days before some prohibition orders come into effect, limiting our ability to use water the way we would love to use it. But we are thankful for the rain nonetheless. But on the topic today, listeners, the government has mobilized humanitarian and social support to 40 families who were displaced following a demolition exercise in Cooper's Pen, Trelawney on Tuesday. On Wednesday, teams from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security visited the affected residents, providing relief supplies. Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says social workers are assessing the immediate needs of the families. In a video seen by Nationwide News, a tractor was seen demolishing the structures. Nationwide News understands the impacted occupants were on the land illegally. The residents lament that they received no prior notice of any plans to destroy their homes. The ministry was joined in their visit on Wednesday by the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management (ODPEM), the Child Protection and Family Services Agency (CPFSA), and other agencies. Some of the supplies given include food, bottled water, toiletries, buckets, temporary shelter supplies, beds, tents, and lighting equipment. The CPFSA says its teams remain on location to assess whether help is needed for children affected by the demolition. Apologies, Minister Charles Jr. says his ministry's teams will return on Friday to provide further assistance.
As part of our continued response, the ministry will return to Cooper's Pen on Friday, August 14th. When we return, we will be distributing food and other essential supplies to affected families, and we want to ensure that families have immediate support going into the weekend. Beyond Friday's distribution now, our team will continue the assessments and continue to partner with other government agencies to determine what additional assistance can be provided and needs to be provided to the families.
That's Pernell Charles Jr., Labour and Social Security Minister. The local government is also stepping in and is expected to provide drop-in shelters for the residents. In the meantime, Government Senator Abka Fitz-Henley says the multi-agency response is a directive by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. Well, on the cover story this afternoon, we'd like to look at what the law says about adverse land possession, more colloquially known as squatters' rights. For that discussion, we're being joined by Senior Attorney Bert Samuels, Property, Estate and Probate Lawyer Sophia Bryan, and Attorney Anthony Williams. Good afternoon.
Afternoon to you and your listeners.
Good afternoon to you all. Starting with you, Bert Samuels. I mean, this this is a law that goes back quite a while. I mean, it comes from UK common law, but I don't think it's really properly understood by a lot of Jamaicans. Adverse possession or squatters' rights. Explain to us the legal precedent behind it.
Well, we should start with the whole idea of the formal titling of land. So when a person has a registered title, there's an office where you can go, get the address, and you find and discover the name of the owner. And that creates certainty. It allows you to go to the bank and you can borrow money on your registered title because your name is on it. Now, that's defeatable. It can be defeated. As much as it gives security, as much as you paid for it, as much as your name is on it, as much as the land registry has your name and, the acreage that you occupy, it's defeatable. And how can it be defeated? It can be defeated by a squatter. A person moving onto the land and has remained there for 12 years or more can displace that title and become the new owner. That is the law. If you want a social commentary on it, I could give you, because I don't like that law.
We can leave. Let's stick to the bare bones right now. We get to the social commentary later.
Right. So that is it. And one of the best examples of it was a case that went to the Privy Council where a man and his wife were registered owners jointly of land. The wife left and went to the United States. When she went there, she spent a protracted period, never came back. And then they got divorced and he married a new wife, the second wife. I'm not sure if she got married, but there's a second wife coming in. So when he died, the husband, the second wife applied to the court saying that her husband, had acquired his first wife's one half of the property. And the court agreed that when she left, she gave up her rights, and the husband acquired her one half, making the entire property his. And therefore, when he died without a will, the new wife, the second wife, inherited all of it and dispossessed the first wife. Is it sounding complicated?
We're following you. Go continue.
Yeah, so it's one of the best examples that even co-owners, one person who owns land with the other, can, as it were, acquire that other's proprietary rights because he's in sole possession for so long. So it is, the fundamental is that adverse possession has to do with being in possession undisturbed, and you displace what we call the true owner. That's it.
And Sophia O'Brien, and I suppose the key point in that, and I think that part that always comes into contention in this matter here in Cooper's Pen, but we're going to leave that later, is the matter of undisturbed on the land, meaning that the actual owner, the one with the title, has seen fit to not in any way challenge you taking up residence there, correct?
Yeah, but you don't just... Go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right, so the crux of it is whether or not permission was granted, and once that can be established that no permission was granted by the title owner, and it's, for the entire community to view and see that this person purporting to dispossess the title owner, then that's the basis upon which, among other things, that they can make a claim for adverse possession.
And Anthony Williams, under the circumstances, and we're just talking abstractly here, an individual who does now stay on the land for that 12-year period undisturbed, what are their legal requirements in order to claim adverse possession?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. And like my colleagues, in order for them to establish adverse possession, then there are two legal principles that we characterize. One is a term in law we call, they must have factual possession. In other words, they must be in physical control of the land, undisturbed, unmolested, having quiet and enjoyable, peaceful possession over this 12-year period. In other words, for 12 years, they must establish to the court that the person who is the legal owner of the land, right? That is the paper owner, we call it.
Yes.
Has not done anything at all. They have not visited the property, as Mr. Bert Summers had said in that particular case. That was a husband and wife, wills and wills. So they have not done anything to the property. They have not visited the property. They have not put up any warning sign or no trespassing sign, or they may not have given you any notice to quit. So once those exist, then a claim for adverse possession would arise. But what we also find is that there are persons who are on a particular property for 12 years. But during that period, the landlord, not the landlord, the owner or the owner's agent may have visited sometime during that period and remind them that they are either a licensee, meaning they were given permission, or remind them that a notice was served on them, or anything that they do to disturb possession. That is what is going to prevent them from being classified as having adverse possession. So as long as there's no disturbance, unmolested, they've been quiet, peaceful, undisturbed during that period, then they'll be good to go in satisfy the legal requirement. And finally, they must also show what we call animus possidendi, which means an intention to possess the land. In other words, an intention to exclude the real owner. So if they have not demonstrated that they had this intention to exclude the owner, then they would not have been on good ground. So, for example, there was a case called Kirchar and Kirchar, a case of a husband and wife, a property in Beverly Hills. The husband migrated, never visited Jamaica for over 12 years, and the very one time he visited Jamaica, he never visited the matrimonial home. In fact, what the wife did was to change the locks and keys on the property so that he would not have access. That is what we call animus possidendi, an intention to exclude the other person from the land.
I know in some cases, and I wonder to what level that stands up in the statute, that I've seen in some cases, not necessarily in Jamaica, where individuals will see a property that is, you see a for sale sign up at the property and it's been there for quite a while, and they simply just move in, change the locks, and then the actual owner comes along later and says that they're squatting on the property illegally, but the individual still claims adverse possession, claiming that the actual owner has done nothing to better the property or upkeep it. Is that a legally allowed statute?
Well, let me say, let me jump in here. The owner of the land, in those circumstances, does not have to do anything to improve the property. No, he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to do that at all. All he needs to do, in fact, in the Kirchar case, our present Chief Justice, he was the one who tried that case. He said all the legal owner have to do is to do some small act, a bargaining act, which will disturb possession. So all the owner needs to do is to make himself or his servant or agent present on the property and say, hey, look, you are not to be here. Please leave the property. He doesn't have to build any fence. He doesn't have to put anything on the property, as long as he has done or said something to make it absolutely clear to the persons who are occupying the land that their possession or their right to be there, yes, is being disturbed. That is what found. So if he served a notice to quit, or he gets the bailiff to go and warn them, or he writes them a letter, that is interruption. So a lot of persons are thinking that the owner must have done something to the land. That's not a requirement.
Interesting. Before you come in there, Sophia, we're up on a quick break. Let's take that break and then we come back and I'll bring you right back in.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household, and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is...
It's 29 degrees Celsius here in the capital city, Kingston, and it's 32 out west in Montego Bay.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the cover story. We are talking about adverse possession, more colloquially known as squatters' rights. We have as our three top-level attorneys, that's Senior Attorney Bert Samuels, Property, Estate and Probate Lawyer Sophia Bryan, and Attorney Anthony Williams to discuss this matter. So, Bert, bringing you in now to look at the social aspect of this, and you said you have some concerns about the social aspect of adverse possession. Because under the circumstances, the law exists for a reason, particularly when we're talking about crown lands that the government has no interest in and would have left untouched for years, sometimes going on decades. What are your concerns about how the law is now in practice?
Well, for one, adverse possession would take 60 years for crown lands. You know, the government makes sure to protect itself. But let's go to this now. My view is that we came from the continent of Africa. We came here. There's a land principle in Africa where family land, you cannot be dispossessed of family land. And that is that no member of your bloodline should become landless. And therefore, this adverse possession, which has been imposed on us from another society, the British society, means that persons can, as it were, just watch. And you gave a good example. They see the house put up for sale, nobody's there, and they go in and capture the house virtually. Now, interestingly, in law, if you go onto a person's property without permission, it is not only a civil wrong, it is a criminal wrong for you to trespass. So it's kind of funny how you start out with almost a criminal act, and then it evolves into ownership. I don't like it, particularly in a country like ours where the diaspora is so huge. So a young woman, she's deciding that she has bought a little house in Jamaica, but she needs to go into greener pastures and she migrates. She has a piece of the rock down here. She has not been supervising it, but it's hers. It's her money, pay for it. And somebody who just decides to go and squat on her land eventually can get a title. I don't like it. So as an attorney, I don't really support what the law is at all times. There are times when I think what the law ought to be. And I'm offended by the whole principle of adverse possession. I don't like it. I think it's alien to our culture and our beliefs. But it is the law, and I thought, and I've written about this before, that the government should change adverse possession. It encourages people who are lazy, who have not made anything for themselves, to just simply move on to your property. And there are some adverse possession experts who own several lots of land by just going around and driving around and seeing where people don't own their place, and then begin to go to the tax office, pay taxes on it, and it encourages mischief, in my humble opinion.
It sets a bad precedent, in my opinion, as well. Sophia, Bryan, you're back with us?
Yes, I am. So
you wanted to make a point. Go ahead.
Yes, the point I wanted to make was as it relates to the process from a practical standpoint. So somebody having an interest in making an application, they just can't go off on a whim. There is a process. They have to have a narrative that makes sense in terms of how did you end up on the property in the first place. And you also need persons to support whatever narrative you're purporting or giving to the assessors at the National Land Agency. So I think systems are in place to prevent, persons who are unscrupulous and just taking advantage of the law. But then there are instances where I know of, elderly persons, they would have been given permission to stay on a property as a caregiver. Then their children may have had an opportunity to live there, and the original owner would have passed on, all their, heirs and bloodline would have passed on as well. And some instances, persons migrate and just never returned. I'm talking about, 2, 3, even 4 decades in some instances that I've been asked to say whether I'd want to assist. And so I do think there are genuine cases where the narrative makes sense for someone to make an application, and I do think that there is a process. And just because somebody feels like it or sees an opportunity or vulnerability, it doesn't mean that they can take advantage. There are processes in place.
And Anthony Williams, there's one matter I want to get into, but before I get into that separate matter, I want to ask you a question, which is quite simple. If the law in terms of adverse possession is so cut and dry that all you have to do is to give notice to the, I don't want to use the term squatter, informal resident, and therefore you can now say you have proper control of the land, why then in many cases you have court battles going on over a decade just to get the individual off the land?
No, well, let me just correct that statement. You don't have to give a notice, right? As Sophia and Bert said, all the squatter needs to do is to have physical possession and control of the land. And apart from that, you must have the intention to exclude the lawful owner. Now, I must also say that one of the misnomers that a lot of persons have, and it seems to be contagious, is that they go to the tax office and start to pay their property taxes. But there is several legal cases, on the point, several legal cases, which makes it very clear that you go into the tax office and start to pay tax does not automatically qualify you as a person entitled to adverse possession. So those listeners who are listening, and they can pass it on to their friends and heirs and successors and family, that simply going to the tax office does not, I must repeat, it does not automatically qualify anyone to make a strong claim to the court for adverse possession, right? I agree with Bert too in that 12 years, I can tell you, is like a week. It's like someone passed in a PEP exam, they go to first form, and in the twinkling of an eye, they are at fifth form, and by the time you quit again, they are at sixth form, and you quit again, they're at university and end their educational career. 12 years is really, really short, and I think the law should be amended to move from 12 years to maybe 25 years. And I agree, there are several persons who own serious investments in terms of real estate, and they just go around, be very, very vigilant, look for properties that are not being used, etc. Persons not taking active steps, and they acquire them, and they become very, very wealthy. Sell them, put up developments, etc. And as Bert said, these are persons who do not wish to work hard, but to capture people's property at our whims and fancy. It just can't work.
And it's not the normal individual it's not the person you're thinking of, or you're stereotypically thinking of. Sometimes we're thinking businessmen, attorneys, etc., who know the law and know how to take advantage of it.
Can you imagine they doing that to your motor car?
And who know the law, know what to do, scout out properties, and they can become wealthy owners, right? Because they know what to do. They see this land being unoccupied, they do their investigation, scout it out, and make the necessary applications. So I think really the law should really change from 12 years to at least 25 years. You know how hard persons have to work, and sometimes persons have to work in the coal in various European countries and other countries.
That's right.
Precisely.
And only to be told that, they didn't come back in 10 years, and after 10 years, you heard that someone take away your property. It's just nonsense.
And sometimes you're not straight. Sometimes you go foreign and you're not straight. You don't get straight, so you can't come back. It's not right.
Yes.
It's not right.
But gentlemen and lady, there is one matter. It's a bit of a political matter that I would like you to weigh in as legal scholars, and this is East Portland MP, the People's National Party's opposition spokesperson on human rights, weighing in on the matter at Cooper's Pen. Please go ahead and play the clip.
So to the people of Trelawny who wake up and then bulldoze your house, I feel your pain. God is going to do something magical for all of them. I see the Prime Minister, I'm have to lift up off of some house, and him have to give you. And when him put him plaque on the house, then when him have to give you back, rip it off when you're done, because if them not give you back house, Tova can't win down there. Right now, anywhere should they beer twep. Prime Minister have to go keep cabinet meeting and know so she have to give you back in the house. And we now ease up off of them neck, because government are creatures of the Constitution. Are the human rights run this, the humans run this. Wanna bet me, if you think I lie, me I tell. So all somehow we never up there. Take all 1 foot on the bed, broke it off and carry it up there and say, see where left ya? Yeah, choppy line pan them, cause anybody where in a that the place there where them bulldoze, you have to get back a house out of government. And it now gonna be no trailer. Bet say you get land. I bet on that.
Bert Samuels, your reaction to that?
But you asking me as a lawyer or as what? I'm only
I'm
a lawyer.
just asking your reaction.
My reaction to that as an attorney. You brought me on this program as an attorney.
As an attorney, Mr. Samuels, as an attorney, your fellow attorney suggesting that people chop a line on the government.
No, it is his political side that he's expressing. On the legal side, it doesn't make sense to me from a legal side, respectfully.
I'm certainly it would not be wise for a lawyer to even make that representation, even if not to a client, even in general.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm saying, he's speaking as a politician. I'm here as an attorney.
Very well. Sophia Bryan?
So, as a human, I know that food, clothing, shelter, those are basic things that every person needs, requires. And I do know in my practice, dealing with different land-related battles, if you will, I know that the court does not willy-nilly give out orders with respect to demolition. I know there would have been a process that led to this. And if the persons that, took the action to demolish the area, if they did something against instructions given in a court order, then they have the court to report to in that regard. But I know there would have been a process, may have been a lengthy process, and I can't speak to whether or not persons would have taken a notice seriously or they would have had an opportunity to make proper representation. But from what I know of the court and my experience as an attorney, I know there would have been a process that led to this. And if the process was not complied with properly, then there are going to be repercussions.
And final word to you, Anthony Williams. And I would just like you to suggest that what would it be for someone to literally not involved in the situation go to make representation that they have been wronged somehow in that situation? I'm sure there's a legal term for that.
Well, yes, Sophia has consistently mentioned about the process. There is, in fact, a legal process. So even assuming those persons did not have the legal right to be there, there is a legal process, and the persons who are the owners, their servants or agents, they would have to go through the court, file the relevant court papers, serve it on them. The court makes an order, the bailiff comes in, and so forth. So from a legal standpoint, there is a legal process that must be complied with, even assuming that those persons were squatters. From a political side, whether it is the JLPs in government or the People's National Parties in government or NEP at all, there is a term called humanitarian. There's a term called morality. And we have to mix this. When you go into people's home at 3 o'clock in the morning or in the wee hours of the morning, right, and you bulldoze persons' home who have been there for umpteen years, it speaks to some kind of callousness, you know what I mean? And so from a political standpoint, the government would just have to be, a bit more careful or whoever, was responsible, right? So from a legal standpoint, there's a process that should be followed. If it does not follow, those persons can engage the services of an attorney. If they can't, they can go to the legal aid clinic in the respective parish and file for seek redress. And of course, they may want to speak to their member of parliament or the very minister of government who is responsible, to assist them. But we can't just displace people like that. There's a human element and a human side to first legal rights.
Ladies and gentlemen, I realize though that on the matter of asking uninvolved parties to essentially run a program and chop it a line on the government, I notice none of you wanted to tackle that issue.
We don't know the facts. We don't know the facts.
Those were the facts from his mouth, though.
Well, as Bert says, we don't know the facts, and we really can't speak to facts that we really don't know.
But,
all right?
but what fact, I realize we're over time, but what fact would give an attorney, a representative of the people, the nerve and the calm statement to suggest that you chop a line on the government even if you are not involved in the current situation at hand? What fact would justify that?
Well,
Gentlemen?
if you saw that there was no court process, if there was no due process, if the matter didn't go to court, then you can say that callousness needs the protection of the state. But what if they went to court, got time, got extensions, and the times expired? There's so many facts that can visit upon a situation that a cautious, trained mind would never make a comment that would make persons, because the people who own land have their rights too. And if they went by due process, then we would be unfair to be trying them in the public sphere now. If they didn't go by due process, then we can look at it, use the facts, make them be known, and say it is. But I'm not going to rush to judgment. I'm careful. Yeah.
That's not what I asked, Bert, but we're over time very well. Attorney Bert Samuels, property estate and probate lawyer Sophia Bryan, and attorney Anthony Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
All the best.
The headlines are next, listeners.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
4 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. The government has mobilized humanitarian and social support for 40 families displaced in Cooper's Pen, Trelawney on Tuesday. The residents reportedly woke up to their homes being destroyed by a tractor just after 3 a.m. They had received no notice of the demolition. The owner of the property reportedly had an eviction notice. On Wednesday, teams from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security visited the affected residents, providing relief supplies. Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says social workers are assessing the immediate needs of the families.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security's immediate concern is the welfare of the families affected in Cooper's Pen, particularly the children, the seniors, any persons with disabilities that are there, and other persons that may be considered vulnerable. Our social workers have been on the ground, assessing the needs of the residents and providing immediate assistance, supporting other government agencies as well, and we will continue working with our partners to ensure that the affected families receive the support available through the Ministry's social protection programs.
Pernell Charles Jr., Minister of Labor and Social Security. The ministry was joined in their visit on Wednesday by teams from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, and other agencies. The supplies provided include food items, bottled water, toiletries, temporary shelters, buckets, beds, tents, and lighting equipment. And Member of Parliament for North Trelawney, Tova Hamilton, is also dispelling rumors that the JLP government is behind the demolition exercise.
What happened yesterday here in Cooper's Pen was not a government of Jamaica operation. It was private sector led, and at no time before the operation began was I, as Member of Parliament, informed that an eviction or demolition exercise was going to take place. I found out when the people were already being bulldozed. I started receiving phone calls as early as 6 a.m. when residents started appealing to me for assistance. By that time, homes were already being demolished and families were already displaced. So I want to dispel the misinformation suggesting that the government of Jamaica planned this operation or that I somehow knew it was coming and stood by.
Tova Hamilton, MP for North Trelawney. Scores of residents in the Morningside community in Junction St. Elizabeth staged a protest on Wednesday over the reconstruction of the Morningside to Red Bank Road. The demonstrators blocked the main road between Cheapside and St. Mary's, forcing motorists to take longer alternate routes. The councillor for the Myersville Division, Leighton Smith, who was at the protest, spoke with Nationwide News.
The demonstration that was in the Morningside district this morning I was called to a demonstration after 6 and I went there to see what was happening. And I inquired and find out that the demonstration was based on some repairs that is being done to the Morningside to Red Bank Road. That was being done by concrete, and they said it was done by the Member of Parliament. And the citizens demonstrating said they don't want any concrete to fix the road because other roads in the constituency were fixed with Barber Green. The road was blocked and traffic have to be diverted. I went there and I leave there probably about 11 o'clock, and when I leave there the road was still blocked. But when I called back there, I was told that it was clear.
Leighton Smith, councillor for the Myersville Division. Those are the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Sports is next.
Getting ready for back to school is as easy as KB. Shop at Kingston Bookshop from July 13, 2026 to September 5, 2026 for your chance to win big in our back to school promotion. Spend just $5,000 before GCT, shop online or in store, and you could win $200,000 cash, an HP laptop, or a Samsung Galaxy Tab S10. Pick up in store or shop online today. It's back to school the easy way, only at KB.
Discover something new. Discover the KB difference.
Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jack on my figure, dig the wall. Up a Total Tools. Weed whack a figure, trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand. Total Tools. We rent them, sell them, and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slide Road, Kingston.
And lot C6 Jacksaw, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
The Urban Development Corporation invites you to enjoy your Jamaica at the first staging of Bonfire Saturdays. This Saturday, August the 15th. It's Island Vibes at Otrius Bay Beach from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. Musical juggling by DJ Lollipop alongside DJ Speckle. Admission $1,000 pre-sold, $1,200 at the gate. Get your tickets today at UDC's head office downtown Kingston, Otrius Bay Beach in St. Anne, or on Instagram at UDC Jamaica. Must be 18 years or older to drink. ID required. Drink responsibly. It's Bonfire Saturdays, August 15, Otrius Bay Beach. Be there.
If you've ever called in, shared your story, or got help on this show, then you're already family. Now make it official. Join the nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
He never shies away from taboo topics. Voyagings After Dark.
The most riveting discussions.
Voyagings After Dark.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings this and every Wednesday from 8 to 11 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
You can't miss.
What's buzzing?
Celebrity outfits.
Is that a hit or a miss?
Bust the odds.
Jamaica's Got Talent.
Wait, a war man.
Hot takes.
Talk up the takes.
Actual factual. Life is short. Voyagings After Dark.
Come get your mind blown.
And your curiosity explored.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. We start with news on cricket because Jamaica suffered their second defeat. The Cricket West Indies Rising Stars under 19 Women's T20 tournament. They went down by 6 runs to Barbados at the Liberta Sports Complex on Wednesday. That's in Antigua. Zania Bruce top scored. She got 30 as Barbados made 102 for 8 in their 20 overs. Davidja Brown claimed the 3 for 10, and Brianna Plummer, she picked up 2 for 20. Jamaica replied with 96 for 9. Half of the batters went via the run-out route. Jamaica will next be in action on Friday. This time they'll take on the Windward Islands, and the game to be played over at the Coolidge Cricket Ground. In the meantime, Trinidad and Tobago made it a perfect 4 from 4. They crushed the Leeward Islands by 8 wickets in a game played over at Coolidge. Samar Ramnarath picked up 4 for 3, and Brianna Harisharan, she bagged a 3 for 15, and they combined to dismiss the Leeward Islands for 50 runs, and it took them 16 overs to do so. The Trinis then raced to 50 or 2 for 2, and they did so in 6 overs. Robman Powell, captain of the Jamaica Kingsmen, says the group has collectively identified areas needing improvement in the 2026 Caribbean Premier League, and the Kingsmen are winless after their opening 2 games. They were first beaten by 2 wickets by the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons at the weekend, and on Tuesday night at Savannah Park, CPL Cricket returning to Savannah Park for the first time in 7 years. They were beaten by the Barbados Trident last night. And according to Powell, the team has been unfortunate, he thinks, so far.
If we keep on losing wickets in clusters, the statistics say if we keep losing wickets in clusters, majority of the times you will probably value the people in that comes. It's just for us to give that extra 5 or 10%. That is what it comes down to. And it's for us as a group to stay together. It's 2 tight games, 2 games that could have gone either way. We could have been 2 games up now, But having said that, I think it left a good taste in the fans' mouth. So I'm sure they will come out and support us for the rest of the games.
Yeah, and the Jamaica Kingsmen will be in action again on Thursday. They'll take on the Guyana Amazon Warriors, same place there at Savannah Park, and the game is set to bowl off at 7 o'clock, like it did on Tuesday night. The former England and Middlesex batsman Roland Butcher has expressed doubts that the West Indies will be able to reverse their fortunes in international cricket anytime soon. He argues that a greater emphasis must be placed on first-class cricket to rebuild the regional game. The West Indies are currently 8th in the ICC Test ranking, with only Bangladesh and Zimbabwe below them. They are also ranked number 10 in the One Day International and 7th in T20 Internationals, highlighting the uneven fortunes of the Caribbean side across the 3 formats. Their position in the One Day International rankings has now cost them a direct place at the 50 over World Cup tournament in 2027 to be hosted by South Africa, Zimbabwe and Namibia. Butcher believes the problems go deeper than rankings and isolated results. His call for a greater investment in first-class cricket comes at a time when the West Indies continues to struggle for consistency in Test cricket. Speaking on the Mason and Guests program in Bridgetown, Barbados on Tuesday evening, Butcher says the development of players for the longer formats need to be strengthened with more opportunities for cricketers to play meaningful first-class cricket.
Our cricket is going to get worse. Just take a look at our cricket. Any first-class season where you are playing 3 games, you cannot compete internationally on those. And the other problem you're going to have, why say our cricket is going to get worse, because it's going to be a knock-on effect. In order to get a work permit in England, you have to play 5 first-class matches a year. So there's not a player in the Caribbean that can get a work permit.
That's Roland Butcher, and he is widely regarded as the first black man ever to play international cricket for England. Football now. Jamaica has moved a step closer to hosting the 2031 FIFA World Cup for Women after the Ministry of Sport and the Jamaica Football Federation signed guarantee agreements for the tournament. Jamaica will co-host the World Cup alongside the USA, Mexico and Costa Rica. The National Stadium is expected to host between 3 and 5 group games, and they're also in line to host one of the round of 32 matches as well. Minister of Sport Olivia Green says the agreement gives Jamaica bragging rights as the first Caribbean country to host Women's World Cup games, and the guarantees will cover key areas including visas and immigration, safety and security, check-in procedures, indemnification and other legal requirements.
These include the establishment of the necessary mechanisms to facilitate guarantees, bonds, declarations, and the requisite legal framework to ensure compliance with the hosting agreement.
And Green says hosting the tournament will also provide significant economic benefits, with international visitors expected to boost spending on food, transportation, and tours of the island.
The indirect economic impact means visitors from all over the world, local spending that even the peanut man will earn something, media and TV exposure that we can't pay for, job creation because there will be opportunities for employment, and of course, an estimated economic injection of amounts that I will not mention at this time.
Sports Minister Olivia Grange. European Champions League title holders Paris Saint-Germain, they won the Europa Super Cup for a second straight year after beating the reigning Europa Cup champions Aston Villa of England by 2-1 on Wednesday at the Red Bull Arena in Austria. The Georgian international, they call him the Prince of Georgia, Viktor Kvaratskhelia, shot the French champions ahead on 20 minutes with a stunning goal. But it's a 17-year-old. Well, let's listen to this goal from Kvaratskhelia.
They're coming again though. Doué, Kvaratskhelia! It's a cracker from Kvaratskhelia once again. Maggio again peeling away and scoring this time. Sensational from the 17-year-old.
That's Bram Maggio, who plays for Aston Villa. Of course, he was born in England, but he's a Cameroon parent. However, the French World Cup star Desire Doué had the final say with a winner after a video review just over the hour mark.
Looks offside to me. The flag will stay down for now against Doué. And Doué puts it in. And now the flag does go up. And have to say from here, it looked a clear offside. It's elongated check at the moment, which will cause a bit of concern. Now the technology lets us know that it's going to be overturned. I think it is a goal, and Paris are back in front. Desiré Doué has done the job for the European champions.
Well done, Paris Saint-Germain. And finally, in sports assistant, the proposed move by Jamaican international Leon Bailey from English side Aston Villa, well, two English sides, Aston Villa to the London club Hull City. Well, it appeared to have hit a snag, if not broken down for good. Hull City announced on Wednesday that they have pulled the plug on the protracted deal after growing increasingly frustrated with how talks were going. The London club was expecting Bailey to arrive in the British capital on Monday to sign the deal. However, the head coach, Sergej Jirakovic, says given the temperature of the negotiation throughout the summer, the deal should have been done by now.
I don't have any doubt about Leon Bailey, because Leon Bailey is a Premier League player who played before very good football. That's he cost he worth 50 million from Bayer Leverkusen to Aston Villa, and last spring he few games there. I don't know where is problem there, and he's not our player, but he was on our short list. And what's happening now, I don't know, because we are working on this 6 weeks. I think 6 weeks. Like I said, after Eintracht Frankfurt, I expecting in hours he will come. So today he will not come. So I don't know. This is behind the scenes, because I didn't speak with the player, because I don't need to speak with the player, because I know everything about him.
So the deal is not off the table. No one knows if it's off the table for good. But Coach Serret says they've gone into the transfer market a lot so far this season. Shouldn't have a problem.
But if I need to I can say beg somebody to join us to play for Hull City Premier League, it's better to stay. Don't come, because if you don't, you don't feel this club, that you can help us, that you will sacrifice for the team. Not just Leon Bailey. I speak now overall, in general. So it's better to stay in your club, and we will try to find somebody else.
Sergej Jirakovic, coach of Hull City of the English Premier League. And that will do it for sport. We're going to have sports again tomorrow morning. That's on Thursday morning, during news at 6 with the outstanding Tona Talks.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
From the biggest tracks to the biggest energy, Nationwide keeps it moving. If you love the vibes, come and lock in with us for real.
World boss, if a prison could stop me.
Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
Practice. God me say you watch you of me practice.
The Urban Development Corporation invites you to enjoy your Jamaica at the first staging of Bonfire Saturdays this Saturday, August 15. It's Island Vibes at Otrius Bay Beach from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. Musical juggling by DJ Lollipop alongside DJ Speckle. Admission $1,000 pre-sold, $1,200 at the gate. Get your tickets today at UDC's head office downtown Kingston, Otrius Bay Beach in St. Anne, or on Instagram at UDC Jamaica. Must be 18 years or older to drink. ID required. Drink responsibly. It's Bonfire Saturdays, August 15. Otrius Bay Beach. Be there.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Good evening, listeners. Welcome back. It's time for the nation's business. Again, I'm your host, Siobhan Campbell, and we now turn to matters of the Parliament because lawmakers continue to debate whether children found in possession of firearms should automatically benefit from diversion. The issue dominated discussions at Wednesday's sitting of a joint select committee reviewing the Child Diversion Act. The act emphasizes rehabilitation over punishment, but the inclusion of high-risk gun offenses in the provisions remains a highly debated issue among stakeholders. Our reporter Shaloy Smichael reports.
Committee member Isat Buchanan painted a harsh reality of some children being forced to carry firearms by dons in their communities. It's why he says automatic diversion is necessary for rehabilitation.
We are well aware that there are adults who are using children, even children below the age of criminal responsibility, to lock firearms. Let's call it that.
And to carry.
And to carry. So if we are going to be in the business of being able to pull these children and divert them from this deviant behavior, possession simpliciter has to be a space that we can divert them and put them in programs. If we leave it to the discretion under Section 37 in that contemplation, I'm afraid that there will be children who won't be able to benefit.
His views were supported by Marissa Dalrymple Philibert.
In certain societies in this country, when the Don says, you hold this, a young child sometimes fears for his own life if he doesn't hold it. What he says is true. With the state of things now, if it is not included and it goes to the court, we still practice in the courts. They are not going to get the leniency at all.
But fellow committee member Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, who's also state minister in the Ministry of National Security, disagrees. Doubling down on the ministry's stance, she argues that gun possession should not be treated lightly regardless of the circumstance.
If it is that they ask them to lock the guns, there will be no punishment for them. It will be a child diversion matter, and that is it. But you have rural communities where youngsters are also being caught with guns, and they don't necessarily have good intention having those guns. So, I mean, what is the message that we would send to say, if it is that you're caught with the possession of an illegal weapon, that you are now just going to be sent to child diversion?
Similar views were shared by Senators Shireen Golding Campbell and Donna Scott Motley, as well as a legal officer of the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, Lloydette Llewellyn. Committee Chair and Justice Minister Delroy Chuck believes the offense should instead be dealt with under Section 37 of the Act, giving such discretion to a judge.
We have too many guns in this country. We cannot now in this parliament say that because a child is found with a gun, we send that child immediately to child diversion. The circumstances must be looked at carefully, and that is where a judge listening to the circumstances is in the best position to exercise a discretion whether or not that child should be sent to child diversion. And therefore, I would say the consensus as I see it is that it should not go in the first schedule.
Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Shaloy. Well, joining us to share their views are policy research advocacy specialist at Jamaicans for Justice, Jade Williams, and attorney Matthew Hyatt. Good evening.
Good evening, Siobhan, and good evening to you, listeners.
Good evening to you both. Starting with you, Jade, I hear the views expressed here, and it's clearly not one easy to pronounce on, especially when we're talking about children, and then you have to balance the concerns about gun violence in Jamaica. But where would the JFJ fall on this issue, Jade?
Well, Siobhan, I listened to the entire committee, so I just wanted to make a clarification or two in that the real discussion was about placing that offense in the first schedule, which currently the remit of the first schedule is within that of the police. So that would mean that if a child is found with a firearm, that the police will be able to divert that child from the first instance.
So it wouldn't even go to a court?
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't go to the court, right? And the discussion really followed off of a recommendation that JFJ had made to include a few other offenses in that first schedule that would be perceived as more serious offenses. For example, cybercrime offenses. However, when it comes to these firearm offenses, we have to agree with the committee chair in that the offense is placed properly outside of the first schedule, where all of the factors can be considered by a prosecutor or by the court to decide whether or not a child is to be diverted. So one thing that we also want to clarify is that the Act already allows for the court to divert a child for any offense under that same Section 37 that Minister Chuck was referring. And that section, what the committee is contemplating is making that section more explicit so that the court is aware of all of the powers that it has in terms of diverting offenses, even when they fall on the more serious side of things, as they are able to look at the particular circumstances of each case and each child. So we overall support that clarification, and we did hear committee member Scott Motley making her contribution that what we really need is education in terms of making it more explicit in the legislation what the court can do and which offenses the court has that remit for, and doing that public education around it to ensure that the court is able to see that as an option. But certainly for the matter of such a serious offense to be in the remit of the police alone is not a recommendation that we agree with.
Matthew Hyatt, what about you? Do you believe, as Jade suggests there, and just as she explained, I'm not saying she suggests that that's her point of view, but that it should be an automatic that the police simply say, okay, this is a child, we send it off to diversion, or should it be elevated to the matter of a courtroom?
No, absolutely not. I do not share the view that it should automatically go to a child diversion, and for good reason. Firearm offenses in Jamaica are very serious, they're numerous, and we also have to be cognizant of the fact that the guns, for example, in the community may very well use this as a loophole, and to say to children, lock this gun or to keep this gun, because you will get off almost scot-free. I do agree with the minister where the judge ought to have the discretion to look at the circumstances of the case, and I find it a little interesting that he's saying this in regards to children, because I believe that that same discretion should be extended to adults too, where the mandatory minimum, as we are now looking at, ought to go, and the judges should have the same discretion to look at these cases, not just for adults, but for the children as well. And so it has to be a balancing act. Not simply because the individual is a child, it should automatically go to diversion, because we have to maintain the fact that gun violence is serious in Jamaica, and there has to be a balancing act.
And I suppose that balancing act is what is critical. Please, ladies and gentlemen, stay with me. We're up on a quick break.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is...
It's 6:32.
Jamaica, get on the road. Discover taste and celebrate and have fun. Join the vibes, get on the road. Yo, Jamaica, get on the road.
This month, get on the rum with Appleton Estate Jamaica Rum. Experience extraordinary live music across the island with our limited edition Appleton Estate Sherry Cask rum cocktails and more. Experience Appleton Estate like never before. Get on the rum and celebrate Appleton Estate Rum Month. Must be 18 years old to drink. Drink responsibly.
Yo, Jamaica, get on the road.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the nation's business. We are talking child diversion. Up for debate. Should the police have the automatic ability to send a child off to the diversion program on the basic charge of simple possession of a firearm, or should the matter be sent to a court to be properly digested and understood, and then the decision taken? That's what we're looking at now with Attorney at Law Matthew Hyatt and Policy Research Advocacy Specialist for Jamaicans for Justice, Jade Williams. So let me play devil's advocate here, because it seems you two are in step on this matter, that it should not be an automatic matter taken care of at the police level. But under normal circumstances, we give our children the benefit of the doubt and we try to spare them the full weight of the law. Shouldn't that principle, as outlined by Isaac Buchanan, be used here to say it's just a child? Why should they have to face a courtroom and the potential circumstances of a courtroom when the matter can be dealt with more mildly, so to speak? Jade, go ahead.
Yes, I think one of the things we have to really consider is the circumstances in which the same child that we're considering would have ended up in possession of this firearm. The likelihood is that there are those nefarious elements within their communities that would have influenced them into this position. If it is that the child is diverted from the police stage, what the police can do in diversion, as the act currently stands, is firstly, they can caution a child, they can warn a child, which means that there would be no engagement of that child with the child diversion committee, and they would not get a fulsome child diversion program to assist in that rehabilitation. Furthermore, if they're placed before the court, one of the things the court can inquire into is this a child that is in need of care and protection? Is this a child that may need to be placed in certain witness protection-like circumstances because of the circumstances in which they came into possession of this firearm? And those are inquiries that only the court would have the time and the remit to make certain orders to do. So I think, once again, if we're looking at our cultural landscape where we are right now, yes, there are other offenses we can consider, like these sexual offenses that our children are caught up in when they are consensually agreeing to have sex with each other. But when it comes to things like firearm offenses, where we know that there are external forces that may be influencing this, we think the Act has properly placed that offense with the court.
And Matthew Hyatt, under the circumstances, let's look at Isaac Buchanan's reasoning here, because he's suggesting that he's not so sure that the court will offer the kind of leniency that is necessary if it's taken to that level. Do you see that as solid footing?
I don't agree with that at all. I believe that, and just as it is now, in most cases, the judges look at all the circumstances of the case. There are instances, in fact, all instances, even at sentencing stage, the judge asks for a social inquiry report where the probation officers will go into the community, they'll get background checks on the individual. And then the judge has to make the determination as to what sentence is to be adopted in those circumstances. As Jade rightly says, it is very time consuming. It's a very delicate approach in the judicial step in terms of sentencing, and the same goes for a child. The fact is that gun offenses are very serious. I don't think that we can treat it lightly, and the discretion, once it is there, I think our judges are brilliant and are more than capable of looking at a situation to say, okay, this is a child who was clearly coerced by nefarious persons in the community, and the Don told him to lock the gun, and if he did not, his mother would, die, and so on. And the court can look at those circumstances and then say that this should be an appropriate sentence. But I don't think that we should leave the floodgates open for an automatic door for diversion simply because it's a child. We are living in an age of social media, and children are influenced by many.
We lost Mr. Hyatt there. We'll try to get him back. So bringing you back in, Jade, in terms of when it does get to the level of a courtroom, what are the aspects when we're talking about simple possession, that's just having a firearm in on your person? What aspects should the court consider if they are to say place you in a diversion program rather than allow you to face the justice system itself?
Yeah, well, the Diversion Act, as you know, and as the committee has been discussing, it does have some considerations for the court to have. Most paramount in that is the best interest of the child, right? But then it is also that the court would look at the seriousness of the offense. The court would look at if there was any harm caused to other persons by this offense. The court would look at all of the circumstances in which the child came to be in this particular situation where they are in conflict with law. So it looks at their social background, it looks at their home life, it looks at their background in education, it looks at influences within that community, it looks at crimes within that community. And in considering all of those things, the court is able to make a discernment as to whether this child would be a good candidate for diversion, not to mention that the act as it stands currently limits that a child cannot be to diversion more than 3 times, that the child, if they have been to diversion before, cannot benefit from diversion again unless there is a 3-year gap between that first offense and the second offense. It speaks to the fact that a child should be considered for diversion usually only in the context of their first offense. So the court is looking at all of these parameters as it decides whether or not a child makes its way to diversion, and where the matter involves a victim, which in possession simplicity it likely wouldn't, but where it does, the court would also consider the opinion of that victim and if they would like to see this child go to diversion as well. So I think the court has a slate of factors that it is considering. I think what the real gap has been so far, and what we saw in our data from our child diversion report that came out in December, was that we weren't seeing the court utilizing those more serious offenses. And we don't know if that is a matter of lack of knowledge of the fact that these offenses can make up part of the diversion program, if it is related to culture, if it's related to custom, attitude. But at the end of the day, we do think that it's a matter that requires clarity in the legislation, and then for that education throughout our judicial actors to ensure that they know that they have that power and are more likely to consider matters and utilize it. What we really want to see is that where a child is before the court's first consideration is whether or not this child is a good candidate for diversion. And once it is that we're seeing that initial screening in every matter that involves a child, then I think we can capture a lot of these cases where children were in more vulnerable situations and were influenced into these negative criminal activities.
I want to bring back Matthew Hyatt to finish his point, but before that, you do raise an interesting, something that is kind of banding around in my head, Jade. The purpose of the child diversion program is as best as possible to limit the interaction between children and the justice system. It's about rehabilitation and keeping them from that sharp edge of justice, so to speak, for relatively minor offenses. If in this case that a matter can be handled through automatic child diversion, why even allow it to go to the court?
You know, again, I hesitate to use the term automatic child diversion because even where the police implement diversion, they have to make the same considerations that the court have. It is just that currently they would have remit of much less serious offenses in comparison to what the court would have remit of. So that is really the discussion that we're having. And I think as we look at how we can, one of the recommendations that JFJ, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions made was that office is able to make referrals to diversion rather than make recommendations to diversion, which is what the Act allows now. And when making that recommendation, the office would still need the court to actually divert the child. So with the committee accepting this recommendation now that the DPP would have that power to divert, then we could look at if maybe this is an offense we can put in the remit of the DPP's office rather than putting it in the remit of our police officers, where we are able to have deeper consideration, longer consideration of the matter as well. And again, I think we have to remember that because the police's powers to divert also includes powers that do not refer a child directly to the child diversion committee, but release them with a warning or caution, we have to consider if that is a wise decision with that offense, considering our current landscape right now.
Understood. Matthew Hyatt, you were making a point when you dropped. Can you finish that point? And also I want to put it to you, do you feel that the Children's Advocate, the Office of the Children's Advocate, has a role to play, particularly when we're talking about firearm offenses and the diversion program?
Yes, well, let me answer the latter first. I do think that they have a role to play, certainly where it concerns educating the public and the requisite stakeholders involved. And parents, too, need to understand their role in parenting and ensuring that they have the children understand the issue of firearms and the seriousness of it. I think I fell off when I was talking about the fact that there are some children who are genuinely coerced into keeping firearms for nefarious individuals, and there are other children who will keep a gun for their own purposes and to use it for illegal means. And I was saying that we're living in an age of social media right now where a lot of children, they're influenced by many things and they will do nefarious deeds. And so I don't think that it can be a situation where we can just have those children get off simply by a warning, as Jade said. And so a court has to look at the situation, look at all the facts, and then make a determination if it is that this child is a proper candidate for child diversion, or whether or not it should go another route. But it is a very serious issue where it comes down to firearms, and we have to look at all the sides.
A serious issue indeed. That's attorney Matthew Hyatt. We also had with us policy research advocacy specialist for Jamaicans for Justice, Jade Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me this evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Please stay with us, listeners. Around the World is next.
The Jamaica International Financial Services Authority promotes Jamaica as a jurisdiction for international financial services. Visit JIFSA at jifsa.gov.jm. The time by JIFSA is...
It's 6:45.
Jamaica, get on the road. Discover taste and celebrate and have fun. Join the vibes, get on the road. Yo, Jamaica, get on the road.
This month, get on the rum with Appleton Estate Jamaica Rum. Experience extraordinary live music across the island with our limited edition Appleton Estate Sherry Cask rum cocktails and more. Experience Appleton Estate like never before. Get on the rum and celebrate Appleton Estate Rum Month. Must be 18 years old to drink. Drink responsibly.
Yo, Jamaica, get on the road.
The Urban Development Corporation invites you to enjoy your Jamaica at the first staging of Bonfire Saturdays. This Saturday, August 15. It's Island Vibes at Otrius Bay Beach from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. Musical juggling by DJ Lollipop alongside DJ Speckle. Admission $1,000 pre-sold, $1,200 at the gate. Get your tickets today at UDC's head office downtown Kingston, Otrius Bay Beach in St. Anne, or on Instagram at UDC Jamaica. Must be 18 years or older to drink. ID required. Drink responsibly. It's Bonfire Saturdays, August 15. Otrius Bay Beach. Be there.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, and we now go back to Colombia, where rescue workers are still searching for survivors after one of the worst earthquakes to hit the country in years. More than 200 people are confirmed dead, hundreds more are injured. One of the worst affected cities is Cali, which just last week hosted the inauguration of newly elected President Abelardo de la Espriella, a right-wing populist who was endorsed by U.S. President Donald Trump. Mr. de la Espriella has promised to crack down on the drug gangs and armed rebel groups, including the National Liberation Army and dissident factions of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. It appears those priorities will now be delayed while the new government responds to the earthquake. More in this report from the BBC.
Welcome to the Global News podcast from the BBC. I'm Celie Hatton, and today I'm joined by William Marquez, Latin America expert from BBC Mundo. William, Colombia has suffered a devastating earthquake at a pivotal time for the country politically. Now, in a moment, we'll talk about challenges the country is facing, like rebel groups and drug gangs. But first, just to focus on what's happening in Colombia at this moment, can you take us through the devastation that the country is facing in the earthquake region?
Well, first of all, the earthquake was felt everywhere in the country, including neighboring countries, Venezuela and Ecuador. But the most affected area is the western part of the country. Chocó, primarily, which is in the Pacific, was the epicenter of the earthquake. And then other provincial capitals, mainly Cali, the third largest city in the country, and also the area that's known as the coffee-growing area of Colombia, Pereira, Armenia, Manizales. Those are the provincial capitals there. So there are 5 provincial capitals that are in a dire situation at the moment. Primarily in Chocó, Quibdó, which is historically one of the poorest regions of Colombia. And for decades it has been affected by violence from the paramilitary and guerrilla groups, plus drug trafficking. And it's one of the most forgotten regions of the country. It's a region of enormous beauty, natural beauty, but simply just forgotten. And we are not getting too much information from them at the moment. They have reported 13 dead and about 131 wounded, but thousands of people affected. But there's very little information. The communication, the mobile communication has been shut down. There's little electricity. In Cali, there's a lot more information there from Cali. There's information of at least 40 collapsed buildings, 5,000 dwellings that have been affected, several dozen dead, more than 700 wounded, and a lot of people unaccounted for. So I suppose that as time goes on, the death toll, unfortunately, will go up.
Wow. Okay, so it's an interesting time as a journalist then for you, because you've got a dearth of information in some parts and you're getting information from others. I would imagine the big cities, it's easier to get information from them. But there have been a lot of stories circulating on social media. Can you take us through some of those accounts that you've come across, things that have stuck in your mind?
Well, one of the most dramatic ones is a family in Pereira, sort of in the suburbs of the town, of the city. And they posted a video where you see the actual house shaking, and they miraculously are able to abandon the house. And you see how one of the youngsters is almost losing his balance. As bricks are falling down and the neighboring house is collapsing, their sort of chimney is collapsing, and then they go inside again and see the damage inside. The walls have fallen and the ceiling has fallen. And the woman who posted the video said that all of that property can be replaced, but life can't. But they escaped with their lives. So she was thankful about that. And that reminded me, because I as a child, I remember at least 4 major earthquakes in Colombia. And I remember one in particular where the whole floor was shaking. We were in the classroom, and everyone turned around at the same time because they thought that the lad next behind them was pushing their desk, until one of the boys just stood up and said, "I think the earth is shaking." And we all moved out, and one of them, as we were just rushing out the door, crashed into the wall because it was moving so much. So I mean that at a personal level, it reminded me of that. Another person wrote, or actually spoke to BBC Mundo, the Spanish service of the BBC, saying in Pereira, in the downtown area, it was complete chaos. There was at least one building that collapsed, traffic paralyzed, a lot of damaged vehicles. There's no electricity. They're trying to collect some water. But I have to say that the government has really moved swiftly to try and start its rescue mission.
You bring our attention to the government. I want to ask you about the new president. He's just come into office just a few days ago.
Inaugurated on Friday.
In Cali, the city that you mentioned. Can you talk us through the challenges he's facing at this moment? Who is he, and how has he been navigating just the past 24 hours?
So, President Abelardo de la Espriella came into office with a right-wing agenda, a strong hand against the armed groups, against the criminal gangs. This weekend alone, the government announced that it had struck an alleged guerrilla leader and killed him. But then, with this earthquake, that entire agenda, that focus that he had on what he was going to do has changed. His mindset now and his focus now is, rightly so, on the earthquake.
William, tell us about these armed rebel groups. How big a problem are they for Colombia?
Well, they've been a problem for decades. There was a peace agreement that was signed in 2016 with the largest rebel group, the FARC. They disarmed, but there was a dissident faction that went back into action. And they have been creating, a lot of the problems for the government and society in general there. There's also another group called the ELN, the National Liberation Army, and they operate primarily near the border with Venezuela. Now, the outgoing president, or the last president, President Petro, the left-wing president of Colombia, he came in with a plan of a total peace, but he wasn't really able to enact it. So we have these 2 major guerrilla groups, plus other minor ones. There's a really grave situation with paramilitaries operating in certain areas, and they are in conflict also with the guerrillas over territory for the cultivation of cocoa. And also there are the criminal gangs, like the Clan del Golfo, the Golfo clan, which is in the Gulf of between Panama and Colombia. There's an area which is very unruly, and they control that area as well, and they control drug trafficking there as well. So there's a tremendous situation with rural violence in Colombia, the lack of presence of the government, and there's an insecurity situation in the country that doesn't have to do with necessarily to do with the armed conflict, but just basically criminal gangs operating in the city, the stealing and killing and that sort of thing.
Okay, so you've told us about the gangs and the rebel groups and where they stand at the moment. Just to layer the situation posed by the earthquake on top of that, how will that complicate the presence of those gangs, those groups, complicate the administering of aid, making sure that the Chocó region in particular is built up again? Can you take us through the challenges that those two things might pose?
The rebels and the paramilitaries pose a challenge directly in Chocó. And so getting the aid there is going to be difficult because they control a lot of the access to it and the access to the cities and the towns and those areas. And
again, listeners, viewers, we commiserate with the people of Colombia as they go through this difficult time. Listeners, in terms of what we reported earlier, I recall about a few years ago that I had written a What's on My Mind that I got quite a bit of flack about. I asked the Bar Association if they still stood behind an individual who had made some claims about the DPP at the point. And I know I took quite a bit of a beating for making that claim, saying I should be more open-minded as to who is allowed into the parliament, etc. Well, listeners, I think sometimes, I always find it funny when I say this, time has a way of proving me right. And I wonder the individuals who took me to the cleaners back then and complained bitterly about my position, if they still hold that point of view today, just a few years, I could even say a few months on. But that's where we'll leave it, listeners. Please stay tuned for the comment section with Mahiri Stewart and Shalois Michael. Thanks to our super producer Dana Davey with the assistance of Rihanna Fullerton, our technical operator Andrew the Glenn, the big bugs man Anderson, and the best news and production department led by the very capable Cara Powell. Thanks again to our YouTubers Eddie Pedro, Dre Views, Kirk Buchanan, Carrick Shan, Blessed Marcia Favor, Erica Bennett, all of you, Godfrey Smith, thank you for joining on this evening. Mikkel, I've been your host, Siobhan Campbell. Have a good evening.
Summer